Welcome to Foundations Leader Orientation. This course is designed by Texas PTA to give new PTA leaders a general overview of the structure of PTA, information on programs and services available to these leaders, and then important information to help each leader be successful in their position as a PTA board member. All local and council PTA executive board members are required by their bylaws to complete this course. Let's get started by taking a look at our history and the foundations of PTA. Here's Texas PTA President Lisa Holbrook.
Congratulations on your leadership role within PTA. I know the task ahead may seem large, but you will soon realize that you have access to a committed network of resources to help you each step of the way. Whether you need to launch a new student program or develop unique ways to recognize volunteers, or even fine-tune your meetings, Texas PTA stands ready to help. The heart and soul of PTA has always been our volunteers. Our volunteer leaders have worked tirelessly to help establish strong family-school partnerships in their community. They have provided millions of service hours through mentoring and classroom support. PTA volunteers in Texas have raised hundreds of millions of dollars to ensure that quality programs remain strong for every generation. PTA volunteers are a cornerstone of our education system, and our students could not be successful without you. Most importantly, I want to thank you. Thank you for taking time to be involved in your local school, and thank you for being a visible advocate for every student on that campus. With your help, I know we can create a future where every child's potential is a reality.
Phoebe Epperson Hurst and Alice McClellan Burney founded the National Congress of Mothers on February 17, 1897. Selena Sloan Butler organized the National Congress of Colored Parents and Teachers in 1926. These two organizations united together to become National PTA on June 22, 1970. Today, National PTA has nearly 4 million members in 54 congresses, including all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Europe, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. These three ladies believed and founded PTA on these three principles: parent education, family engagement, and advocacy. You will hear a lot about these guiding principles as we go through this presentation. Just as our founders made a decision to take a leadership role, you have too. Let's hear from some of our current and past leaders on why they get involved.
My oldest child started school in 1967. It was back in the days when neighbors hung clothes up on the clothesline, and he was having trouble in the first grade, and my neighbor on the other side of the fence was raising her last child, and she said, "You need to join the PTA and get up to school and find out what's going on."
I was a mom with 3 small children, and was at the park in the playground, and I had another mom come up and had children the same age as 2 of mine, and we just started talking. And I was in a new neighborhood in a new school, and she said, "Well, why don't you become a part of PTA?"
I was one of those kindergarten moms that the first day of school that packet came home, and I was so excited and went and picked Amanda up and started filling out all the paperwork, and they had a survey in there that was asking for her help.
When we moved to Texas, and I felt very strongly about public education, and she moved into the public education spectrum, and I wanted to stay involved or get more involved, and PTA seemed to be the best way to get involved, not only in the school, in my child, but also in the community as well.
I found that I was able to find out what was going on not only on campus, but in the whole district and in education in general across the state. And I had just never been privy to that information before. And it helped me to understand some of the decisions that were made regarding the education of our kids, and maybe even how the schools were run and what power the parent has versus the power that some of the administrators have.
I wanted to be part of the solution, and I thought that if I was involved in the school for my kids and making that school better, that it would be better for all the kids who were in that school.
So I really didn't get involved all at once, was little by little, and I really find that was so good, all the programs that they had and the way they were getting together, and I felt that it was the right, a place for me.
I think if you have the passion to serve, most PTAs have a place for you. And whether it be at the board level or on a committee, I have found that most PTAs would be very accommodating to anyone and everyone who is willing to step up and serve. So for me, that happened rather quickly because I wanted to get involved. I wanted to be part of the solution for whatever we were dealing with on our campus at that time.
Ella Carruthers Porter, a single mother of 3 children, founded the Texas Congress of Mothers at the State Fair of Texas on October 19, 1909. That makes Texas PTA 108 years old this past October. Texas PTA is currently the second largest state PTA with 2,700 local PTAs with almost 500,000 members. Our history of advocacy goes back to our very beginning. Texas PTA's first state offices were located inside the state capitol building here in Austin. Texas PTA was also the first state PTA to have its own permanent office, which was built in 1937 just 2 blocks west of the Capitol. That became our home for nearly 75 years at 408 West 11th Street. The Texas PTA Board of Directors voted to raise this building and build a new building at the same location. Our current offices are a modern 5-story building still at 408 West 11th Street with 3 floors occupied by Texas PTA. The Hester Herbster Volunteer Training Center is an important addition to this new building. This allows us to train leaders at the local, council, and state level at reduced expense and in our own office. PTA has remained focused on our vision and mission for over 100 years. Our vision of making every child's potential a reality and our mission to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children is at the center of what we do. Our state presidents have seen firsthand how PTA has impacted the lives of children across Texas.
PTA opens a door and builds that bridge from parent to parent to parent, and not just on your campus, but from campus to campus to campus, so that you know what's happening in your community, in your part of the state, in the whole state, in the nation, and know why it's important. And that's what PTA's strength is, because you begin to understand why it's important to be involved.
I've always said I couldn't have raised my kids without PTA, that I learned more either at a PTA program, which I can still remember some of those to this day, and it's been a while, or I learned more sitting around at a board meeting.
So I think that's our reason for being, is to help parents know how to be good parents, to understand what's going on in the schools, what's expected of the students and why it's expected, and then to be a voice for the children, especially the ones whose parents don't come. You have to be that pebble that's thrown in the lake and the ripples go out.
The children that you worked with when they were children, and they come back to you and run up to you and say, "Ms. Humphreys, I'm coaching my daughter's softball team," or "I'm the president of the PTA," you made an impact on them just by your volunteering.
My elementary principal said that if children know that the school is a good place to go, they come to school very happy and willingly. When they see their parents there or their friend's parent there, they know that it's a good, safe place.
Do you remember the 3 principles PTA was founded on? Parent education, family engagement, and advocacy. We're going to talk about each of these now. PTA has always been committed to parent education. Some early parent education program topics included hygiene for children, home budgeting, and discipline strategies. Since then, PTA has developed extensive parent education resources. Texas PTA offers free parent education programs through our Ready, Set, Achieve initiative. Some of our current offerings are Family plus School plus Community equals Student Success. This helps us build the family-school partnership in a way that benefits every child on campus. Or Reading 101 that helps place parents on the path to success for our earliest readers. Be a Smart Parent, helping parents become strong educational partners with their child's teacher and administrators. Success Starts at Home, based on the 40 developmental assets. This research-based program helps establish strong values and relationships that are key to student achievement. And addressing one of the most pressing issues of our time, Don't Stand By, Stand Up, strategies for identifying and coping with bullying on a campus.
And our parents are struggling. They don't know where to go for information. Let's face it, it's information overload. You can go online and you can get all kinds of information. You don't know what's valid, what's not valid. And I think if PTAs can do, bring in speakers or do some, even links to good articles on their newsletters, or I like to promote that 90-second parent education where we do every meeting. Let's give our parents something that they can take home.
It was our 40 Developmental Assets program, and there was a dad who came in and he said to me, well, my child's had some problems at school and the teacher recommended that I come to this program tonight. And last week, in the middle of the week, I got a phone call and he said, Ms. Zimmer, you probably don't remember me, but I was at your program a week ago on 40 Developmental Assets. And he says, I want you to know that we did the little exercise with the stars, and my daughter is actually really trying to behave and trying to make some changes. So that was very exciting for me, because, I always look at it as, if we go out to these programs and if we at least teach one parent one thing to help make their child's lives and even their lives better, then we've done what we're supposed to do.
Our parent education programs are so very important to help parents. I had a mother come to me at one of the conventions, and she had no voice at all, and she had changed schools where there was a PTA, and once she came to the PTA and began to learn some of her skills as a parent through their programs, as well as the rights that she had as a parent, she had just completely blossomed, and her whole life with her children and her school had changed.
We've talked about parent education, and now we're going to talk about advocacy. The Texas legislative session occurs every other year in odd-numbered years. And in each of those years in February, Texas PTA hosts Rally Day at the state capitol. This past year, in 2017, Texas PTA had our largest Rally Day event ever, with nearly 2,000 people attending and almost 400 of those being students participating in our student caucus. Texas PTA encourages you to help make a difference and an impact in our legislative agenda by attending Rally Day in 2019. Advocacy has been an important part of PTA for our entire history. From the beginning of, PTA leaders have focused on giving our children the highest advantages in physical, mental, social, and spiritual education. PTA is the largest member-based child advocacy association in the nation. Some of our earliest successes included the abolition of the public drinking cup, the creation of vaccination requirements, birth certificates in kindergarten, even school lunch programs, making sure that our school buildings were constructed in a way for the safety of students, advocating for women's rights, and allowing jury service for women. Some of our more recent successes are funding of school-based health clinics, limiting access of children to tobacco and alcohol products, adding school supplies to the annual tax-free holiday, the requirement of site-based decision-making committees on all campuses, preventing children from riding in the back of pickup trucks as cargo, the statewide standards for playgrounds, and a graduated driver's license program for teenagers. More recently, you may have seen our participation in the passage of David's Law, an anti-bullying bill, or the reduction in statewide assessments for our students. For a more detailed list of our legislative priorities and successes, you can find that on the website at txpta.org/advocacy. Legislators and state officials recognize the influence of Texas PTA on legislation and policy. Let's hear what they have to say.
As a member of the Public Education Committee, I can tell you we have the same cast of characters testifying before our committee every week, and they represent the institutional interests that surround public education, the school administrators, the teachers, and then the business interests that all kind of clash over their self-interest, their parochial interests. There is no entity other than PTA that speaks on behalf of what is best for the families and particularly the children enrolled in public schools.
And when a parent comes in representing the PTA, representing that parent-teacher, community, school link, it's very powerful, it's persuasive, and as I say, it's genuine.
If parents understood that PTAs as a group wield an immense amount of power, they could change the priorities in this state. I mean, when you get a PTA, when you get parents all collectively using their voice, not for the power of just that individual community, but it's about the kids, then it's very difficult for people in decision-making positions to turn a deaf ear.
When I was Agriculture Commissioner, one of the things I'd worried about so much was how we were feeding our kids and how our kids' health was. And I cannot say thank you enough to the Texas PTA for stepping up to the plate and talking from a parent's perspective on what they wanted the school food environment to be like for the children. That voice, that presence, that clarity of view, that realness was very, very effective at the legislature.
PTA's involvement in the whole process is vital to the future of education in the state. The advocacy they bring, the interaction they bring with my office, with state agencies, with the education process, with teachers, with parents, and with kids, makes the entire process far more successful.
We've now talked about 2 of our 3 guiding principles, and we're moving on to the final 3rd principle, family engagement. PTA has partnered with researchers and experts to develop the national standards for family school partnerships. Implementing these 6 standards will create positive family engagement in your school. The 6 standards are welcoming all families into the school community. We want families to feel welcome and valued at their child's school. Communicating effectively. When parents and school staff engage in effective 2-way communication regularly. Supporting student success. Parents and school staff should collaborate in support of each student's learning, both at home and school. Speaking up for every child. Families are empowered to be advocates for all children. Sharing power. When families and school staff work together to positively affect children. And collaborating with community. When community members work with families and school staff to expand learning opportunities, community service, and civic participation. National PTA has a program, Schools of Excellence, that focuses on these 6 standards and helps our PTAs implement those to improve family engagement on your campus. I encourage you to visit pta.org for more information on the School of Excellence program. PTA leaders from across the state know how the impact of a family engagement on the lives of children. Here's what a few of them have to say.
I visit schools that are really successful, and I visit a lot of schools that are struggling. And there are a lot of variables that go into a successful school, the quality of the teachers, the quality of the curriculum, but the variable over which we in public policy have the least control turns out to be the variable that is the most consequential for the success of a school, and that is the engagement of the parents.
Of course, we know all the research shows that that is the indicator of student success, is when families are engaged in their children's education. That's not necessarily volunteering. That can be at home, it can be at school, it can be communication between teachers and the school and home. So it's just we know how important this is, and we've really got to get past that fundraising aspect.
It's being active in your child's life, not just in the individual child, but in the class, in the school community, and providing that type of input that can only come from the parents. That's what makes a successful school.
The school is the community and needs to be the community. And the community, regardless of whether or not you as an individual might have a child in a particular school, needs to value what is occurring within those walls.
If you have a strong PTA in any elementary, middle, or high school in the entire state of Texas, you're going to have a great school.
We are often asked to describe the differences between PTA and other parent-teacher groups, or simply why a PTA can make a difference on a campus. Our commitment to parent education, family engagement, and advocacy for every child sets us apart from booster clubs or other groups centered on fundraising. I hope we've provided you with the information and resources that encourage your PTA to engage decision makers at every level, and also to actively reach out to all families in your community. Schools are the foundation of our communities, and your PTA is critical to their success. Thank you again for choosing PTA and working to back the future of every child.